I still remember the smell of vanilla candles mixed with expensive wine. 25 years. A quarter of a century spent building a life with someone I thought I knew better than myself. That morning, I woke up early to prepare everything for our silver anniversary dinner. The dining table was set with our best china, the kind we only used for Christmas and special occasions. I had chosen a deep burgundy dress, elegant but not desperate. I wanted to look like the woman he fell in love with, not the one he had grown tired of. But something felt wrong. It wasn't just nerves. It was a weight in the air, thick and suffocating. Darren had been distant for months. His phone always buzzed at odd hours. He smiled less, touched me even less. When I asked him about work, his answers were clipped and rehearsed. His mother, Margaret, had been visiting more often, and every time she looked at me, there was this smug satisfaction in her eyes, like she knew a secret I didn't. I had prepared his favorite meal that evening: honey-glazed salmon with roasted vegetables and a side of garlic mashed potatoes. The wine was a vintage Merlot we had saved for years. I even bought a small gift for him, a leather-bound journal he had mentioned wanting months ago. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. As we sat across from each other at the candle-lit table, I waited. I waited for him to pull out a gift, say something sweet, anything that felt like the man I married. Instead, he cleared his throat, adjusted his tie, and looked at me like I was a business transaction. "Naomi," he said, his voice calm, almost cold. "We need to talk." My heart dropped. I set down my fork, folded my hands in my lap, and forced a smile. "What is it, Darren?" He didn't smile back. He didn't even look apologetic. "I think it's time we were honest with each other. This marriage, it's not working anymore. Hasn't been for a long time." The words landed like stones. I stared at him, searching his face for a hint of doubt, regret, anything human. There was nothing. "I've met someone," he continued, leaning back in his chair like he was discussing the weather. "Someone who understands me. Someone who makes me feel alive again." I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But instead, I sat there frozen while my husband of 25 years told me he was leaving me for a younger woman. He said her name was Jessica, 29 years old, a paralegal at his firm. "Of course, I think it's best if we separate," he said, cleanly. "I'll help you transition. Maybe you can stay with your sister for a while." Transition, like I was a project being phased out. Like 25 years of my life could just be neatly packed into a box and moved aside. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. The room spun. The candles flickered. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a voice whispered, "This isn't just a breakup. This is a plan." But that night, I realized the man beside me had been planning my downfall all along. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our marriage like a film reel stuck on repeat. How did we get here? Where did I go wrong? Or more accurately, where did he? I met Darren in college. He was charming, ambitious, the kind of man who made you feel like the center of his universe when he looked at you. I was studying literature and creative writing. He was in law school. We met at a campus cafe where I worked part-time. He came in every morning for a black coffee and a blueberry muffin. On the third week, he finally asked my name. By the fourth, we were inseparable. We fell in love quickly, got married young, and built a life that looked perfect from the outside. No children. We tried for years, but it never happened. At first, it broke my heart. I imagined a house filled with laughter, tiny shoes by the door, bedtime stories. But month after month, year after year, the tests came back negative. Eventually, we stopped trying. We told ourselves we were enough for each other, that our love didn't need children to be complete. But I think deep down, Darren never forgave me for it. He never said it out loud, but I felt it, in the way he avoided family gatherings, in the way he flinched when friends talked about their kids, in the way his mother's disapproval grew sharper with every passing year. I gave up my dreams to support his. I was a writer once, had plans to publish my own work, maybe start a small press. But Darren's career came first. His promotions, his networking dinners, his late nights at the office. I became the supportive wife, the one who smiled at corporate events and kept the house running smoothly. I told myself it was temporary, that one day it would be my turn, but my turn never came. His mother, Margaret, never liked me. From the beginning, she made it clear I wasn't good enough for her son. No children meant I had failed in her eyes. She dropped little comments over the years, always with a smile, Darren deserves a full life, don't you think? It's a shame about the children. Some women just aren't meant to be mothers. I swallowed every insult. I smiled through every family dinner. I convinced myself that love was enough, but love wasn't enough for Darren. I thought about the nights he came home late, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. The weekend trips he took alone, the way he stopped asking about my day, the way he stopped looking at me, the way intimacy became a chore, then a memory, then nothing at all. And I thought about the condo. The beautiful 2-bedroom we bought together 15 years ago. Except we didn't buy it together. My uncle, my mother's brother, left me a large inheritance when he passed. He had no children of his own and always treated me like a daughter. When he died, he left me nearly $200,000. I used most of it as the down payment on the condo. Darren's name wasn't even on the deed. But over the years, he started talking about it like it was his. Our place. Our investment. I never corrected him. I thought we were a team. Looking back, the signs were always there. I just refused to see them. The days after the anniversary dinner felt like living in a fog. Darren moved into the guest room. He said he needed space. But I knew better. He was creating distance so the separation would feel inevitable. So when he finally asked for the divorce, I would be too worn down to fight. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. His phone was always face down. He showered the moment he got home. His laptop, which he used to leave open on the kitchen counter, was now password protected. He took calls in the garage. He started going to the gym at odd hours. And when I asked simple questions like, "How was your day?" he gave me one-word answers. One night, after he fell asleep, I crept into his office. My hands shook as I opened his computer. I felt like a criminal, but I needed to know. The password was easy, Jessica's birthday. I had overheard him mention it once in a phone call. He wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I found emails. Dozens of them. Messages filled with affection, promises, plans. Plans that didn't include me. He told her he loved her, that he was finally going to be free, that they could start their life together soon. There were photos, too. Pictures of them at restaurants I'd never been to. Vacation spots he told me were work trips. There were searches, too. How to divorce without splitting assets. Can a spouse claim property bought before marriage? Legal ways to protect inheritance in a divorce. How to force a spouse out of a home. My stomach turned. He wasn't just leaving me. He was trying to take everything. Then I found the messages with his mother. Margaret. Have you told her yet? Darren. At the anniversary dinner. She took it better than I expected. Margaret. Good. Now get her to sign the papers before she has time to think. The condo is worth a fortune. We can't let her keep it. Darren. Don't worry, Mom. I'll handle it. She trusts me. Margaret. Make sure she does it quickly. Once she talks to a lawyer, it's over. Darren. She won't. She's too emotional right now. I'll play the supportive husband. She'll sign. I read those words 3 times. The betrayal was one thing. But the calculation, the cold manipulation, the way they talked about me like I was an obstacle to be removed, that was something else entirely. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. My mind raced. My heart ached. But somewhere beneath the pain, something else stirred. Anger, clarity, determination. He thought I was still in the dark, but I had just opened my eyes. The next morning I called my lawyer. His name was Paul Hendricks, an old family friend who had helped me with my uncle's estate years ago. I told him everything. The affair, the divorce threat, the emails, the plan to take the condo. Paul listened quietly, then asked, Naomi, is the condo in both names? No, I said. Just mine. There was a pause. Then he said, Good. That makes this easier. He explained that because the condo was purchased with my inheritance and titled solely in my name, it was considered separate property under state law. Darren had no legal claim to it, even after 25 years of marriage, even if he had contributed to utilities or maintenance. The deed was mine. The equity was mine, but he doesn't know that, Paul said. And from what you've told me, he's banking on you not knowing either. That's when the plan started forming. Paul advised me to act normal, to play along, to let Darren think he was in control, Meanwhile, Paul would prepare divorce papers with terms that protected everything I owned. The condo, my savings account, the car I bought with my own money, even the furniture I had inherited from my grandmother. I spent the next 2 weeks playing the role of the heartbroken, compliant wife. I acted sad, confused, defeated. I let Darren think he had won. I asked him questions like, "Where will I go?" and "How will I manage?" And every time, he gave me that patronizing smile and said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." But I was taking care of everything. Then Margaret called. She wanted to meet for coffee. I knew it was a trap, but I went anyway. I needed to see how far they were willing to go. We sat in a cafe downtown, and she wasted no time. "Naomi, Darren told me about the separation." "I'm sorry it didn't work out." She wasn't sorry. Her eyes sparkled with satisfaction. "I think it's best for both of you to move on quickly," she continued, stirring her cappuccino. "No need to drag this out in court. Just sign the papers, let him have the condo, and you can start fresh." "You're still young enough to rebuild," I smiled. Took a sip of my coffee. "The condo? Yes, it's only fair. He's been paying the mortgage for years, and you'll need liquid cash more than property." I set my cup down slowly. "Margaret, Darren's name isn't on the deed." "The condo is mine." Her face changed. The smugness disappeared, replaced by confusion, then anger. "That's not possible." "It is. I bought it with my inheritance. Legally, it's separate property. Darren has no claim to it." She stared at me, speechless for the first time in 25 years. I stood up, placed a 20 on the table, and leaned in close. "Tell Darren if he wants a divorce, he can have one. But he's not getting my home." I walked out, leaving her sitting there, stunned. He thought I was his pawn, but I was already setting the board for checkmate. 2 weeks later, Darren insisted we host a final celebration, a party to announce our separation to friends and family. He framed it as a mature, amicable goodbye, a way to show everyone that we were handling things with grace and dignity. But I knew the truth. He wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. He wanted to paint me as the bitter, childless wife who couldn't keep her husband. He wanted to publicly justify his affair and make himself look like the reasonable one. I agreed to the party. But I had my own plans. The event was held at a rented banquet hall downtown. Over 100 guests attended. Colleagues from his firm, old college friends, neighbors, family members, even Jessica, though Darren didn't know I knew she'd be there. She stood near the back, wearing a tight red dress, watching him with adoring eyes. The room was decorated with soft lighting and elegant floral arrangements. There was a live jazz band, a buffet table with gourmet food, an open bar. It looked like a wedding reception, not the end of a marriage. Midway through the evening, Darren took the microphone. He thanked everyone for coming, made a few jokes, told a nostalgic story about our early days. Then his tone shifted. "I want to be honest with all of you," he said, his voice steady and rehearsed. "Naomi and I have decided to part ways. It's been a long time coming. We've grown apart. We want different things. And I've met someone who makes me happy again. Someone who reminds me what it feels like to be truly alive." Gasps rippled through the room. I stood near the front, holding a glass of champagne, my face calm. "I hope you'll all support us as we move forward," he continued. "Naomi will be fine. She's strong. She's resilient. She'll land on her feet, and I wish her nothing but the best." Then he looked directly at me, smiled. "Naomi, do you want to say anything?" The room went silent. Every eye turned to me. I smiled back. "Actually, yes, I do." I walked up to the small stage and took the microphone from his hand. His confident expression faltered for just a second. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady. "Darren's right. We are separating. But I think there's a bit more to the story that you all deserve to hear." His face paled. "Darren didn't just meet someone," I continued. "He's been having an affair with a 29-year-old paralegal from his firm for over a year. Her name is Jessica Monroe. She's here tonight, actually. Jessica, would you like to wave?" All eyes turned to the back of the room. Jessica looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. "And this separation?" I said, turning back to the crowd. "It's not mutual. It's not amicable. Darren and his mother have been planning for weeks to manipulate me into signing away my home. The home I bought with my own inheritance. The home that legally belongs only to me." Margaret stood up from her table, furious. "This is absurd. "Sit down, Margaret," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I have the emails. I have the search history. I have everything." The room erupted in whispers. Shocked faces. Some people pulled out their phones. I looked at Darren. His face was red. His hands were shaking. "You wanted to make me small in front of everyone. You wanted to humiliate me so I'd just disappear quietly. But all you did was show them exactly who you really are." I set the microphone down on the stage, grabbed my coat from the back of my chair, and walked out of that banquet hall with my head held high. He wanted to make me small in front of everyone. Instead, I made him disappear. The fallout was swift and brutal. By Monday morning, Darren's law firm had launched an internal investigation into his relationship with Jessica. Workplace romances weren't explicitly banned, but relationships between senior attorneys and junior staff violated the firm's ethics policy. Especially when those relationships involved favoritism, manipulation, or abuse of power. Within 2 weeks, Darren was asked to resign. The firm didn't want the scandal. They didn't want the liability, and they certainly didn't want a partner who had publicly humiliated himself and exposed the company to potential lawsuits. Jessica left him shortly after. Turns out, she wasn't interested in a disgraced, unemployed lawyer with no reputation and no future. She wanted the powerful, successful man. Not the broken one. Margaret stopped calling, stopped visiting. I heard through mutual friends that even she had distanced herself, embarrassed by the public scandal and furious that her plan had backfired so spectacularly. Meanwhile, I finalized the divorce. Paul made sure every detail was airtight. Darren walked away with his personal belongings, his car, and his damaged pride. That was it. No condo. No savings. No alimony. Nothing. I kept the condo. I kept my savings. I kept my dignity. And slowly, carefully, I started to rebuild. I enrolled in a creative writing workshop at the local community college. I reconnected with old friends I had lost touch with over the years. I started going to book clubs and art galleries. I painted the living room a soft cream color and bought plants for the balcony. I woke up in the morning without the weight of someone else's disappointment pressing down on my chest. One afternoon, about 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Darren, handwritten on plain white paper. No return address. He said he was sorry, that he had made a terrible mistake, that he missed me, that he realized too late what he had lost. He said Jessica meant nothing, that his mother had poisoned his mind, that he wanted to come home. I read the letter once, folded it carefully, placed it in a drawer, and never looked at it again. Justice doesn't always need anger. Sometimes silence is the sharpest blade. 6 months after the divorce, I made a decision that changed everything. I sold the condo. It had too many memories, too many ghosts. I used the money to buy a charming little house in a small coastal town 2 hours north. It had a garden, a sunroom with large windows overlooking the ocean, and enough space for the dream I had put on hold for decades. I opened a small, independent publishing house. I called it Tidewater Press. It started with just me, a laptop, and a handful of manuscripts from emerging writers who had been rejected by traditional publishers. But it grew, slowly, beautifully, organically. I published stories that mattered. Stories about women who survived, who rebuilt, who reclaimed their lives. Stories about second chances and quiet victories. Every morning I woke to the sound of waves crashing against the shore. I drank coffee on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. I wrote, I edited, I lived, I made new friends. I joined a local book club. I volunteered at the community library. I took long walks on the beach with a golden retriever I adopted from a shelter. I named him Scout. One day, about a year after I moved, I received another letter from Darren. This time it was longer, more desperate. He said he had made the biggest mistake of his life, that he thought about me every day, that he would do anything to fix what he had broken. I sat on my porch, the ocean breeze in my hair, the sound of Scout snoring at my feet, and I read his words. And I felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, no longing, just peace. I didn't write back, because I had already moved on. I had become someone who didn't need his apology, someone who didn't need his validation, someone who didn't need him at all. I had become the woman I was always meant to be. Strong, independent, free. He wanted someone younger, but I became someone stronger. Did you like my story? Which city are you listening from? Don't forget to subscribe for more life stories like this.